Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Group Chat. It's Dee and I. We're at home. It's Sunday night. We're pissed because it's been dark since 2 p.m. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to get into all things news. We got a hot day of news, really. I mean, we're fresh back from ComplexCon, so we got to talk about that.
Big pop culture episode.
I would say big pop culture episode. There's a little bit of business in there. We're talking about the return of international tourists and what that means for business. But I would say pop culture to the max. I mean, I would say like arguably top 5 interviews of all time came out last week. So we should probably talk about that as a couple of interviewers ourselves.
I can't even think of a better one.
I think this is probably your top interview. It's probably my top.
What is your top? What's better?
Look, I'm going to go nerdy.
Weird Joe Rogan,
like Joe Rogan, Naval, or sorry, I just have to.
God, yeah.
I'm just saying, if I had to get rid of one from history, I would have had to get rid of this one before I got rid of that one.
Okay.
But it's top 5 for me. So let's talk about it. We got a lot to go over. You ready?
Let's go.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Hey, Dee, happy Sunday evening.
Sunday evening, a little bit of tequila.
Tequila. It's been dark for 5 hours. It's 7:30. The clocks have changed.
I mean, I can't even believe that no politician has run on the entire platform that I will not change the clocks. In fact, instead of changing the clocks forward in the fall, change it 1 more hour back.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you?
Nobody.
Why wouldn't you adjust to compensate? I'm outraged. If there's one thing I'm outraged about, cancel culture, all that stuff, I'm joining woke mob. I'm woke because I woke up too early this morning. I woke up, got ready. I was literally woke and went to leave out my door, and I was an hour early for my golf day.
Because you didn't, your phone didn't update?
So you want to know what's funny is I don't sleep with my phone in my room. So I have like an old school, like just
Where's
super
your phone?
basic.
Like in the balcony?
Well, so here's what happened. Okay, my phone charges in my office, and I wake up to a little like super analog alarm clock so that I at least have an alarm clock.
Yep.
So that alarm clock obviously didn't update, and I forgot that it was daylight savings time. So I woke up. I just started getting ready, did all my stuff, had my coffee, did everything, and then grabbed my phone on the way out the door.
Yep.
And I was so confused. I'm an hour early.
Oh,
Let me read this. Let me read this. Adam Grant, he's an author that is...
well, I like Adam Grant.
Okay, super cool, whatever. Writes a lot of cool, interesting, thought-provoking things. A lot around business and stuff. It's time to stop changing clocks 2 times a year. It costs us more than sleep. 8% more car accidents, 5% more heart attacks, more injuries at work, lower SAT scores, 5% harsher sentences in court. 19 states support year-round daylight savings time, 31 to go.
I mean, where did you get all these numbers?
I mean, the guy's an author. All he does is research and freaking
You
write
want to hear
shit down.
Crazy story?
Yep.
Around 3:30 today, we're driving to the park to take our kids. We get into a car accident. Someone hit us.
You got into a car accident today?
I
You're a
mean,
statistic.
Yes, instantly. the
You are
clock's
part of
changed.
it. Oh my God. I was driving home from golfing today, and there was literally like right in front of me, like right before I kind of came around the bend. Same thing, car accident. Lady T-boned another lady. Everyone was fine, but the lady was like bawling. But yeah, we saw it. Look, statistics.
I mean, all I know is basically farming is on the outs. We're going to be eating all synthetic foods anyways. Who gives a fuck about the farmers?
And look, I mean, you're telling me you don't got lights on those tractors? Those things don't have headlights now? I mean, it's just so outdated, man. And here's the other thing. Every time I like kind of half jokingly start roasting like farmers or whatever, no one even really can agree on why it happened. There's also like it saved electricity. It was like lower electricity bills was
We're
part
in
of
like
the
1743. I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah. Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. It seems to me like the most outdated dumb thing that we do. Of everything we do.
I think there's a lot of countries that don't change their clocks, right?
There's a lot. There's states that don't. I think Arizona doesn't.
I mean, Arizona doesn't do a lot of things, so not
They don't, but they're smarter than we are.
Yeah.
If I was an Arizonian, I would be like, you guys are fucking idiots. You want to make fun of us?
Yeah.
You guys are idiots.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can't believe this clock thing is even so stupid.
But keep in mind, we voted it out.
Oh.
We voted no longer daylight savings time, and it passed.
It just takes 10 years to put into effect.
Yeah, they couldn't get it on their calendar because their clocks suddenly changed. Fucking asshole.
So I'll give you another anecdote on that. A funny story. So our microwave in our kitchen, like recently, like 3 of the numbers stopped working.
Uh-huh.
So if you get a new microwave,
you have to choose very specific cooking time.
Yes. So like we can't 0 doesn't work.
Oh no.
So everything is like, 51 seconds, not 50. You can't. So Haley was like, we have to wait till the clock is a certain time so that we could even change it.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, they fucked us. It's just, come on, man. It's time to switch it up. Did you order a new microwave or?
I mean, I don't.
I'm probably late on like one of my gifts. I'm sure you guys did like a wedding gift. I could send you one.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna need a new. I mean, the likelihood of me ordering a microwave is basically 0.
Yeah. Okay, well, I bet I have a feeling we'll be talking about this at a minimum by the time we change the clocks back again.
Yeah.
Spring forward, you're like, oh, see, we can't press 0.
I have 2 air fryers though.
Oh yeah, you don't need a microwave. You want to talk about ComplexCon? I think that's a good place to start. We're fresh off. We went there yesterday. I just saw a video on Adam 22's page. It looked like Quavo showed up and got in a fist fight. But I'll be honest. I don't even want to. I don't want to give any negative look. That looked like a really isolated incident. I think they did a really good job with ComplexCon. What do you think?
Well, I mean, to bring it full circle, we started literally exactly 4 years ago to the ComplexCon.
We did. And that started, am I right? Because we were sitting in the office. I was doing Short Story Long at the time. So I had the podcast set up. We were talking about the numbers of ComplexCon, how impressive it was. And we're like, we should be recording this shit.
Yeah. And I think we just went and recorded it.
Yeah, because I had the setup in my office, I think. Yeah.
You had the subway tiles? Was subway tiles then or no?
Where was that? Subway tiles was actually like, unless we built the set, I think we might have done that. I think I had the podcast equipment in my office and we were sitting by it having the conversation. We're like, this should be a podcast. And then I think we got the subway tiles and it was all up from there.
So
I think
that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I went. Obviously, I saw you there. I wasn't. We had talked early in the week if we would all go, and I basically had like a 2-hour window because of kids stuff that I could go. So I didn't want to like burden anyone with my schedule. So I just went by myself, and I parked at the shopping center like across the street.
Mm-hmm.
I walked up and I'm like, holy shit, there's a lot of people here.
A lot of people
and a lot of lines. And
kids love lines.
I mean, we'll get to that in a second. And I saw the lines and I was like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. Like, how do I get tickets? And I texted our buddy Neil Wright, who runs ComplexCon, and he was like, shout out to Neil for hosting us. He was like, go to the will call and then you'll be fine. And he told us where to enter. So
is there any chance you stole my tickets?
Yes. 100% I stole your ticket. So
okay, I'm glad we got that cleared up because I went to will call.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, Chris, here's my ID. And they're like, oh, they've already been checked out about an hour ago.
So I got I put all of the names, and I just wanted to grab them. And I said, if anyone texts me, I'll go give them the passes. You don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I wasn't too sure that you were coming till when I texted you guys and I said, "Whoa, this place is busy." You're like, "I'm here." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I'm going to be honest how well we know each other. When I got there, I was with Kareen and her friend, and they're like, "Oh, your tickets are voided." But Kareen had ones under her name, and I was like, I'm sure Dee just said, "Do any of these names on the list?"
Yeah.
And luckily the guy was like, "Yeah, whatever. Here's a ticket." So I'm glad we cleared that up.
Yeah. So I put like 10 names on the list. I took everyone's tickets. So I might have screwed. By the way, I didn't give anyone their tickets. So I don't know. There's 10 people right now that probably didn't get it.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. So because they were like, Neil's like, "Do you want to grab everyone so no one has to do that?" I was like, "Sure." I'm sure people will text me when they're here. And then, so I did that, and I'm grabbing my bands. Oh, before I walk up to Will Call, and they're like, "Hey, you have to get a health check." And I'm like, "Oh, what's a health check?" And they're like, "Well, you have to prove your vaccination. It's a negative COVID test." I was like, "Okay, cool." I mean, this line was 4,000 people.
So long. Yeah.
So, I mean, I was with someone that I work with. We just cut.
It worked?
Oh, yeah. We were
you're
like
a monster. You go in, you steamroll, you walk in there, you take all your friends' tickets, and then you cut the health line. You're a savage.
I cut the line, and this guy felt bad. He goes, "Oh, man, did I cut you in front of your friends?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, let me let you go."
Wow. Wow. Oh my God, this guy.
So my health check was like 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. And so I showed my Vax card and whatever. I then go back to Will Call because they wouldn't let me into Will Call until I had my health check ID. And because I went earlier, so I was there by like noon. And by noon, that's like when it opened. So it was like so crowded. And I'm at Will Call. I grab everyone's bands, and a guy by the name of Ashley, who listens to the podcast, goes, "Hey, are you good?" I was like, "Yeah, I just got my bands." And I was like, he's like, "Do you want me to walk you in?" And I was thinking, man, the line's kind of long. I was like, "Yeah, why not? Walk me in." And he used to work at ComplexCon, so he's like, "I know you guys started here. Walk me right in." So shout out to him. So
shout out to Ashley.
Yeah, that was an amazing kind of dumb luck. And then I started walking around, and I'm going to tell you, I try to keep my ear to the streets. I was not familiar with a lot of the brands, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like I felt like it was new, young energy of just all, and it's like, when I started in fashion in 2002, basically 20 years ago, when you walked around people's booths, most of the clothes sucked. They were terrible.
Yep.
And today, like I walked around, I mean, I didn't see a booth where I was like, "Man, that shit's whack." Like,
I know. Where's all these production people? I mean, everyone's doing cut and sew. The old like Gildan
craziest screen print I've ever seen. I don't know what the prices are for this product, but like phenomenal. Like people are so creative now. The product's amazing. And I was walking around by myself, just, obviously running into people and saying hi and whatever. But like, I was just really trying to soak it in and see. And I don't know it's interesting because I haven't been to a lot of I went to a couple sporting events, and I think sporting events are the biggest things I've been to. And then, but that's like, a certain demographic of just like sports fans. This was the first young person thing I've gone to. And damn, it is diverse.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's probably the most diverse thing. Literally, it's like every different type of person, and I don't think there was any like majority of type of person. No. And the other thing that struck me on top of that is like, it's kind of diversity adjacent, is I feel like all the years that I used to walk through like Magic and Agenda, which is where you would see what's going on and what's new. It was always like, it was kind of this like this circle. And
Yep.
everyone was like just a couple steps
Yeah.
removed from the circle. So it's like, oh, you know, the ex graphic designer from blah, blah, blah started blah, blah, blah. And like, it was always the same crowd. It was just new people from those old companies would start a new brand.
Yeah.
And now I don't think it's like that at all. I think it's like anyone has a shot. And these are people that maybe built up social media following, so we don't know them. It has nothing to do with like Fairfax culture. Like it felt like anyone from anywhere
Yes.
has a chance at starting a cool thing.
And what's interesting is I was walking back with this guy Roger, young dude, friend of mine. We're walking back from the food section, and he was like, "Oh, this guy's really cool and interesting." And I was like, "Who is he?" And he was shooting a video, and he has an Instagram account called Side Talk NYC.
Yeah, I saw Complex post him.
Yeah, and I saw him, and kids were going crazy just like in his videos, and I was like, "What's his story?" And he's like, "Oh, he does these like videos of like different neighborhoods, different situations in New York City, like Nick's home opener, and it's just every video goes super viral, and it's interesting." And I was like, "Wow, that's great." And then I walked over to, the food section with you, and we saw a sweet chick with like freaking 1,000 people in line. I mean, like, go to Fairfax, you don't have to wait in line.
Sweet Chick is
And then-
supreme.
And then what's funny is we were walking around and we saw a line, Cowboy Bebop, which I had no idea what that was. And then I got home. I literally drove back home. It's a billboard in front of my house. It's a Netflix show.
Oh, I thought it was a restaurant. I thought you said it was one of the food trucks.
No.
I would say like what? Like, do you think the bills? Because there was a huge presence from Amazon Prime, Netflix. Like, do they pay the bills for ComplexCon, and then everyone else gets to bring the vibes?
Yeah, I mean, Coinbase must have written a 7-figure check, and this is all speculation. Coinbase wrote a 7-figure check.
Neil, I know you're listening right now, so maybe text me.
Sorry. I mean, Netflix, Amazon, $500,000 to 7 figures. And then I'm sure all the food people had to pay good money. And then there was a handful of bigger brands. I'm sure Billionaire Boys Club paid big money. But like there was definitely a lot of like younger brands that can't afford that, but are part of the culture and made the event so much better. And I told Neil, I ran into him and I'm like, I really like that I don't want to see Nike and Adidas at these things. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see young kids I know Corrine, your girlfriend, like ran into someone that she was a fan of.
Yeah, Sean Brown. It's like home decor. Like he makes like we have a bunch of his incense in the house, and like he makes like mirrors and chairs and like just super dope stuff. But she knows about him from social media.
Yeah, and I
she's
thought
a fan, and she's been ordering his stuff, and then she sees him and she's like, "Oh my God, there's the guy that designs all this stuff." Like, it's that cool moment that I didn't. Yeah, I knew because we have the stuff in the house, but I didn't know what was going on. And her and her friend both were super excited about it.
And I think that's the cool part. And by the way, like I ran into an insane amount of group chat listeners that were so excited that we were there walking around, and I was walking around by myself. So they were like, "Oh, where's Drama and Anna?" And I was like, "I think Drama just showed up. Anna couldn't make it." But it was cool to see and it was just even the types of people was so interesting, like all ages, all different interests and backgrounds. And, ComplexCon, if you're not familiar, is like basically intersection of streetwear culture, hip hop music, fashion, and now crypto and NFT.
Yeah, there was a whole NFT booth, obviously Coinbase. I saw they were quick on it. I was wondering, like, did NFTs happen too recently to have a presence? And they made it. They made
NFTs were present, and you know what also made me feel good? That like the metaverse is so far away. When I saw Complex, like physically, digitally, whatever it is.
Got it.
What I saw on Saturday, like I hadn't been in an event with a lot of young people in a long time. So, when we talk about metaverse and crypto, we just assume that every young person is on some like futuristic shit. But at the end of the day, they're just like, yo, I want to wait in line for some sweet chick, grab some cool sneakers, and like whatever, hear Zach be a DJ who is DJing. It's like at the end of the day, like all of these people are still like craving physical experiences and
Here's my question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are people going to strap on their VR headset? Because I really think this is likely after seeing what I saw.
Okay.
Strap on their VR headset, sit in their gaming chair, and hop into the metaverse and wait in a line in the metaverse. I feel like that's coming.
If you wait in a line in the metaverse, you're a fucking loser.
I bet they will. I bet you'll go into a kid's room and be like, hey, what are you up to? You like, battling aliens or something? Be like, I'm waiting for these new Travis Scott Jordans to drop. And literally you put on his glasses and he's just standing there.
You have to take metaverse steps.
Yeah, he's just taking one small step every half hour because lines are hot. And I'm convinced that people just like to wait in a line because they feel like they're in on whatever everyone's waiting in the line for. I mean, like you said, Sweet Chick, I'm sure, well, I know the food is great. Sweet Chick is amazing. We love Sweet Chick. But that line for Sweet Chick was insane. And as far as we know, there wasn't an extra additional like special thing. There's just lines.
You could have driven to the Fairfax Sweet Chick.
Yeah, and back.
Had lunch, came back, and you would have beat that line.
Yeah.
At the carnival, they had a carnival section of ComplexCon. People just wait in line.
Wait in line.
I think if you just have a line in life, like I think it would be an interesting art project, like a Banksy thing, is pay like 50 people to wait in line on Melrose, and 500 other people would just wait in line.
Yep. I got an idea. Maybe next year at ComplexCon, we'll do a We're Not Really Strangers booth. We'll pay 100 people to wait in a line that never moves and just see what happens. Because it is wild. Lines are so hot, man. And all this talk about like Amazon, no one even leaves their house. No bullshit, man. Lines are hotter than ever. I bet during COVID, people were like, man, I just can't wait to get back out there and find myself some long ass lines. You know what I missed the most of 2020? Lines.
Yeah, I was surprised at the patience of these people. Even to like, interesting enough, like the bars all had a very long line. And I always used to make a comment on like, oh, people aren't drinking. The interesting about ComplexCon, it is a wide range of age. It actually like has obviously a ton of younger people. Yeah. But there's like a lot of old people, older than me, walking around there. And I think I think if like you grew up in this world, it's just something you're a part of. Like Coachella is one of those things where you just see all walks of life. You see, obviously it's predominantly young people, but like you do see older people at those things. And I think that's what ComplexCon feels like. Like if you're a part of this, like if I had nothing to do with the industry, I'd probably want to come and see. Like it's just fun and interesting. Yeah. Like there's a lot of cool shit happening.
It's also not even like there's not even like an outfit, like, what all the previous years, all those types of things. There was always like, oh, you got to wear the Jordan 1s, the camo pants, the got it. That's the outfit. There was no
two people dressed alike. Yeah. No. Yeah. And I think the internet has made the world so fragmented that whatever you want, you can find an audience for it. Like there was a brand, Kids of Immigrants. I don't know if it was a brand or a art collective, whatever it was, huge line. Then there's, some sneaker brand, and there's something else. And all of these people had their own lines, have never heard of them, and it's their following, and people came to see them, which is awesome.
Yeah. All right, well, we got a lot to get through. So what's the take? Yeah.
The take is, I think, obviously physical events are very, very important. And the take is like, there isn't like this mass market look or strategy to get kids. You actually have to like go build your audience. It's hard work.
Yeah, I agree. I think my take is number one, anyone's got a shot. And number two, people fucking love lines. So make yourself, create a hot thing. Tell people they got to wait in line for it. They're ready. The legs are strong.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, Kanye. Oh my gosh. So when I saw you at ComplexCon, you told me that you were halfway through, hour into this like 2.5 hour Kanye interview. I would say, so Kanye did an interview with Drink Champs, which is Nori and DJ. I'm
Noriega.
forgetting.
Yeah. Effin.
Noriega, DJ Effin. Yep. So really popular podcast.
I've never watched or listened to an episode of Drink Champs. I'm a huge fan now.
Oh, they're rowdy. And it used to be way crazier. It used to seem like the mics were like 20 feet away and they were just wasted and like, yeah, he said it. Like it was fucking nuts. But I think they've kind of professionaled it up a little bit, but they do a really good job. Nori's incredible. Look, here's my take is even though I think Kanye's an asshole, like I don't think he's like, I think he's legitimately a fucking asshole, but I think probably my favorite Kanye interview that I've ever watched.
I'm not even joking. I watched and listened in the car. I had it like on YouTube, but like just kind of in the dashboard, so I couldn't really watch it. But I just wanted to see when there was a lot of traffic going to ComplexCon, so I was like, this is the most ComplexCon thing to do. Watch a Kanye interview on the way to ComplexCon.
Yeah, you got to get in the mood.
Yeah, and I'm not joking. I was laughing out loud, clapping like I was in the room.
Yeah,
and it was some of the most.
You were driving, so you just had it in your car.
Yes, laughing, like clapping, like I was stuck in literally traffic on the 405. And I was like,
oh my god! What do you? I mean, so I mean, do you think? I think potentially best Kanye interview ever.
By far the best Kanye interview, and it just Kanye made a reference and said Nori is my Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And he said it many
because
times.
He took a hit of the joint or something.
Yeah, and I think the bigger difference is one, Noriega being a hip hop star also knows Kanye better and knows. I don't know. He just asked way better questions than any other interview that we've ever seen.
Yep.
And I think Kanye. So two things, because this is going to contradict itself. Kanye West was the most relaxed and confident I've ever seen. Like he was just happy to be free and opinionated on every topic. Yep. But he was also extremely petty and like, talking about things like, yo, you're one of the most successful musicians, probably the most successful musician ever now, right? Like,
and he's dissing Talib Kweli.
Yeah, you're dissing Talib Kweli. Like, I think Paul McCartney is a billionaire, and I don't think any other musician is a billionaire. When it's all said and done, Kanye will probably be the richest musician ever, and I don't know why he would like shit on people. Like he was shitting on Talib Kweli, John Legend, Big Sean. He said it's his biggest mistake ever.
He subtly said Travis Scott is a
copied everything. Obviously, he does not a fan of Drake. He said that he was Just Blaze. He said he put a text message with Jay-Z, Travis Scott, and all these other people saying that he's richer than all of them. And I mean,
combined. All the texts combined. Kim Kardashian, Travis Scott, whoever, Jay-Z. I'm richer than everyone else. I know. And Jay-Z? Why are you trying to punk Jay-Z?
I don't think he's richer than Kim Kardashian. I think she's a billionaire in her right.
Well, look, I don't believe the Kanye numbers. So, he's claiming like 7 billion or something absurd. He said, billion. My peers, Elon Musk, blah, 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 Jeff Bezos, those are my peers. Well, not so, I mean.
So I think my biggest takeaway is like he's in like a really fun place in his life where he's so comfortable just speaking exactly what's on his mind. I think I wonder,
is that the case though, or is that the power of Nori? Is that the power of an interviewer, because Nori is
Oh,
very, very well respected in music. And that's the type of conversation that he would have had with Nori behind the scenes. And I think that if some journalist comes to him and asks him those things, he has his guard up. I think that the brilliance and the amazing thing about podcasting is it allows us to hear what Kanye West and Nori would have talked about that he wouldn't have shared with, like, Nardwar.
okay, that's interesting
That's just
because
my opinion. Because
yeah,
I actually felt like when it was over, I felt like, ooh, like Kanye should not. He destroyed Soldier Boy too, by the way. But
yeah,
I kind of felt like, God, he shouldn't have said that. But I think that it was because he felt comfortable with Nori, and Biggs was in the room, and I think
yeah,
they were just all talking like hip hop, just business talk, and we got access.
yeah, and I mean, I'll just tell you this: if you're a Kanye fan, you should 100% watch it. If you're just a fan of good entertainment, which I think everyone is,
Yeah.
this is a slam dunk of a video experience that you should watch. It is so good. So
Also, if
good.
you're a fan, if you're at all a fan of like rap or hip hop culture, there's a lot of good stuff in there because there's a lot of like Talib Kweli, versus Common, or him talking shit about Just Blaze copying him on the Blueprint. Even though it's not like you're not getting like hip hop history, but you are getting like, I think, the raw, unfiltered take of Kanye's career and friend group.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is like you're getting a raw of kind of because he had a couple shots of uh I think they had some Japanese whiskey that they kept
Yeah.
referencing, and he
Yeah.
definitely loosened up. And they what Nori does at the end of the interview is he does like a pretty much he gives you two choices. You have to pick one. If you can't pick one, you do a shot. So he was talking about like who's the better business person. Did he say Jay-Z or Dame Dash?
I think it was Puff or Dame.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I
remember.
think
I don't know.
and yeah, he just asked a series of questions
But like
that were
Common or Talib Kweli was a spicy one.
yeah,
Big Pun or Biggie.
yeah.
I think it was Wu-Tang or someone else. Yeah, that's where it got spicy.
Yeah, it was incredible. I think everyone should watch it. It's just fun. It's just fun. It's entertaining. He's wearing his sunglasses, and it was 10 a.m. from what they
Oh
said
my
it was.
God. Oh my God. It was fantastic. Yeah. Everyone should watch it. Even if you hate Kanye, it's worth listening to.
I mean, it was so good. I enjoyed it. I loved it.
It was incredible. I'm not even the biggest Kanye fan, especially personally. I loved it. That's the predicament, right? Like we're in this age where like you might be like, oh, this person's such a dick or such a whatever, but like if they're entertaining, you're gonna win.
It's like the Donald Trump White House press conferences. You don't agree with what he's saying, but you're like, damn, this is good.
He did say like they were like, oh, something about the hat, and he's like, just so you know, I still have the hat on, even though I'm
Yeah.
not physically wearing it right now. I just so you know where I stand.
And he was calling out John Legend and Common as like the puppets for the Democrats.
Yeah, and he said that him and Kim's still his wife. He hasn't seen any papers.
By the way, speaking on that, Kim Kardashian is full on dating Pete Davidson.
Is there more?
Yeah. There's
content?
like PDA. There's all this stuff. And
I mean, you know what? Props to fucking Pete, because I never would have guessed.
Pete, that was not our kind of selection of who is the ultimate kind of bachelor for kind of a superstar level of Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
Pete Davidson is quickly becoming the modern George Clooney, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
And that's just the society we live in. A guy that acts and looks like Pete Davidson is now George Clooney.
I mean, I wonder if high schools across and colleges across the country, the scrawny tattooed guys are just all of a sudden getting flooded with.
You would have been hot.
I would have been so hot, man. Because Travis Barker too, right? And then Addison Rae's dating. Yeah, and then the other hottest relationship in the world is MGK and Megan Fox. I mean,
oh my God, that's right.
scrawny tattooed guys probably just got flooded with vagina and are like, what's happening? What is this? I just got
Mildly,
back from band practice. Why are you doing this to me?
mildly talented, scrawny dudes with tattoos.
Yeah. It's hot, man. Who would have thought the whole look shifted so quickly?
Yeah,
It was like, athletes, and these guys were like ripped, and you know what I mean? And the scrawny tattooed guys in.
yeah, good for them. I'm happy for Kim. Big fan.
Yeah, it seems like they're all happy. So especially Courtney and Travis. I mean, everything just seems like a freaking love affair. Happy for all of them. Happy for the scrawny tattooed guys.
Yes.
What about? Did you see Elon? Elon has a new Twitter, thing that he's brilliant at Twitter.
Yeah.
And there's always these things that pop up of, he'll roast Joe Biden or whatever. He's really good on Twitter. The new thing is he's letting his followers vote in a Twitter poll if he should sell like 20 billion worth of Tesla stock and essentially like pay it in taxes or not. And he's saying that he'll do whatever the poll says. So if outstanding the number is yes, he's going to take out 20 or 25 billion dollars in Tesla stock and he's going to pay the taxes on it.
So he tweeted out, much is made lately of unrealized gains being a main means of tax avoidance. So I propose selling 10% of my Tesla stock. Do you support this? Yes or no? And then he replies, I will abide by the results of this poll, whichever way it goes. And he goes, note, I do not take a cash salary or bonus from anywhere. I only have stock. Thus, this is the only way for me to pay taxes personally is to sell stock. So we are now about more than 24 hours in. 58% people have said yes. So he now has to sell his stock.
Was it 24 hours?
Yeah, it was. It's been
What was the timeline?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a specific timeline, but it has been. And what's interesting is this guy's so clever. So he goes out and says this tweet, but he also has a tax bill of more than 15 billion coming from his stock options. So he kind of owed this money anyways.
He's a genius. Because I was going to say the goodwill, people being like, see, this is how billionaires should be. We love Elon, is going to be worth more than 25 billion to him.
Yes. And so he was awarded options in 2012 as part of a compensation plans because he didn't take any salary or cash bonus. And it was for 22 million shares at a strike price of $6.24. The stock's obviously $1,200 or whatever it is. So his gain on the shares totals just under $28 billion. And so he has some tax that's due. And
genius.
Genius on another level. Obviously, he lit the internet on fire because, politically, there's been a lot of talk of unrealized tax gains, figuring out how a way to tax unrealized gains. And, that's just an insane thing to even consider. And so Elon leans into it. And at the same time, he has a tax bill that's due. So he's going to look like, the internet told me to sell this stock, so I did it. So thank you.
It's just like, do you realize that it's so rare? I mean, there's one person in the world that it has the genius to become the richest man in the world or start these different companies and also is genius in understanding social media. There's no one else. This guy's the richest guy in the world and he fucking so uniquely understands social media. It's insane.
Yeah, there's nobody else understands the nuances of realizing
business. Well, other than Dave Portnoy, maybe he's the best business executive.
He's better than Dave. He's on another level because sure, Portnoy is very successful, but this is the richest man in the world.
I know.
But
I'm saying, even if you just went like CEOs, like who's the best CEO on social media? I think it's
Yeah, it's
Elon. The
definitely.
only thing is Dave like had this like, Business Insider hit piece, and the way he's flipped it has been pretty impressive.
So what exactly happened there? I haven't been following the story.
So Business Insider wrote this like crazy hit piece on him saying he he was aggressive with girls, and I don't know. I think it also talked about, I didn't read it, but also it talked about like how he is as a boss and the work environment and all this stuff. But there were two really like damning stories, and it was these two women that essentially said that they were like, borderline raped by him. I mean, like kind of taken back to his house and forcefully against their, when they were saying no, had
Wow.
sex with them. And I mean, he went on a weekend. He started with a video of himself talking. Then he showed the DMs from one of the girls who made the accusations, writing him after she left him saying like, do you want to bang? And I told everyone about us hooking up. Everyone was so impressed. This is
Wow.
awesome. I can't believe I fucked Dave Portnoy. And then he literally all the way down to, so two big things. He did all these things. Two big things. He, number one, found a clip from Joel McHale's, I think it was called Talk Soup or whatever, the old show,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and found the CEO or the ex CEO, whatever, of Business Insider, and he's this guy that has committed fraud and been charged with the SEC and banned from trading or whatever. And there's this really funny clip of them like making fun of him to his face on Talk Soup back in the day, and he posted that. And then he said, "Look, I got an idea. Our advertisers are trying to cancel us. Business Insider is personally hitting up all of our advertisers and asking them if they're going to still support us. In order to show that we're not canceled, how about everyone go to Walmart this weekend, and buy our Barstool One Bite microwave pizza so that we can show the data to all of our advertisers and say, look, clearly we're not canceled because sales are up." And then he's posting videos of people just loading up shopping carts at Walmart with One Bite pizzas,
Oh my God.
and just flip the whole thing on its head.
Yeah.
And that guy is also a board member. The CEO of Business Insider is a board member on Morning Brew. So now he's saying like, cancel Morning Brew, cancel Business Insider.
Yeah.
He's going hard.
If you're going to go after cult-like figures, you got to be
Gotta be
prepared for
careful.
the repercussion of
Yeah.
their community.
Yeah.
It's like Kanye said in his interview. He's like, I'm uncancelable.
Yeah.
Like, he knows it. He knows. He's like Donald Trump,
Yeah, you
Kanye
gotta be
West,
careful.
Dave
Dave
Chappelle.
Chappelle. Yeah.
Dave Portnoy I put in that category. He's in
Yeah.
the same category of those people. Like
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they've cemented themselves with their community. You don't have to agree it, but their community appreciates them, and they're going to do whatever to protect them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. But so anyway, so that I just wanted to highlight that as a really great business person on social. But Elon, I mean, the fact that the richest man to have ever, lived, documented, is also incredibly good at Twitter.
It's
What are the chances? Oh my God. Okay, real quick into some business stuff. What's going on? So we're lightening up the travel ban, and we're talking about the impact that might have on retail sales. Is that kind of what the buzz is this week?
Yeah, so November 8th, the international travel ban is officially lifted. So people from all over the world, as long as you show your vaccination, I think basically most of the world. I don't know if any country has been, exempt from that.
Excluded.
And you get the as long as more than 30 countries they're allowed to come back into the country. So I think putting all the negative things aside of like, oh, they're going to bring a variant, oh, they're going to bring some other disease, whatever. I think the good news is so much of American retail is dependent on international travel, specifically in New York City. New York City is one of those cities that like the Macy's at Herald Square, the hotels, the restaurants in different parts of the town are so reliant on foreign visitors. And so they haven't experienced that in 2 years. And now, like, there's a stat here that says the average spend per visitor per trip to New York City Chinese people, $2,900. Australian people, $2,800. Argentinian, 2,000. Brazil, 1,800, and so on. And so people definitely, like a city like New York City is going to experience an insane boom the next 6 months because of like just like the thirst of people, that are trying to enter the country. And take Macy's. Macy's, 4% of total sales were from international tourists. 4% of total sales. That's like insane amount of money.
Yeah, we got to open those doors.
Yeah, and I think look, I think it's going to be great for everyone involved. I think it's going to be great for retailers, great for hotels, and I think same with visitors. I think they're going to be excited to be here, and they're going to spend the money, and they're going to create some new energy in the country. I mean, walking around just LA and, all these different places, like, we're back. America's back. Like,
yeah, we're back.
It doesn't feel like, with all the travel, I've done a lot of traveling the last couple of weeks, like, it doesn't feel like we're in a scared state. There are some people that, continue to wear masks and continue to be scared, and they can live their life however they want. The rest of us have moved the fuck on. Yeah, that's just what's going on.
I think it's going to be really tough for those people that are still really scared and like kind of the Karens or even like Karen adjacent. Let's say you're not super outspoken, but you're just really on edge. Like, I think it's going to be tough because everyone, look, unless something else happens, it really feels like actually like emotionally people are moving on.
Yeah.
People just aren't as worried about it anymore. And I think that if you're the one who's holding on to that fear, like it's going to be tough for you because you're going to be more and more worried about people's masks and there's going to be less and less people wearing them.
Yeah. And I think like at this point, I literally don't follow the case data or any data for anything COVID related anymore. No. So I don't know what's happening in that world, but anecdotally, we're not hearing the same stories we heard 3 months ago, 6 months ago, or last year. So I mean, I just feel like something positive is happening. There's so many people have gotten it and are vaccinated that it's not spreading like it used to. People are still going to get it. People get shit all the time. Like, it's just part of life. And I think, like at some point you have to get comfortable with moving forward. We were at the park today and I saw a bunch of adults wearing masks at the outside park. And I was like, fuck, like your life must be tough.
Yeah. Because that's the problem is people are just going to,
they're going to hold on to it forever.
So one group's going to hold on to it into the ground and be miserable, and the other group is going to let go of it, I think, really quickly. Because already, like, no one really cares. Like, yes, there's some stores and stuff that if you walk into, of course, people are still, they'll tell you to put on a mask, whatever. But most of the places I go, and like even my building and all that, like, no one really cares.
No.
No. Like, even walking around ComplexCon, like, you could have your mask down, breathe a little bit. No one was tripping.
Yeah, and even I was at the LA Marathon. We live off Sunset, so like we see the marathon literally goes by our house, and so we were walking up and down Sunset today, and people are running. No one was running with a mask on. None of the people watching were wearing a mask. It's like, so at some point, the mask wearers who are vaccinated have to believe in science. The same way the anti-vaxxers and the anti-maskers also have to believe in science. The people that claim they believe in science actually have to let science do science.
Yeah. That's, what? Well said. Let's make that a TikTok clip. The other one thing I just wanted to mention really quick is, because you mentioned New York a lot, is Eric Adams.
Yeah.
What's going on? Like he's he's in there, new mayor. He was strong on. Was he a Law and Order guy?
He's a Law and Order guy. He's from the
Law and Order Democrat, right?
Law and Order Democrat.
Interesting hybrid.
I mean, it's just the time that we live in. People care about their safety, and if you look at the
Love it.
election, I don't know if you guys talked about it on Tuesday, probably too early, and I know we didn't talk about it on Thursday, but Democrats got creamed.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, they're overreaching.
They're overreaching, and as a
Get back to moderate.
lifelong Democrat, that's not good for the party going forward. First step is the midterm election. The Democrats have the presidency, the House, the Senate, and haven't accomplished shit. Now they're going to go and, uh, probably lose either the House or
They
the
fumbled.
Senate.
They fumbled it
And
because they
yeah,
overplayed their hand. It's like, go ahead. Sorry, I'm cutting you off, but it's a bummer because I'm the same as you. I'm a Democrat technically, but like you overplayed it. You went to like anti-Trump, and you
well,
overplayed
I
it.
don't
And
even
the
think
reason why I'm mad.
I don't
Well,
think
the
it's
reason I'm
anti.
mad is because I feel like you're going to go back to like the other option is like you're going to go back to far right. Like it's going to swing, you know?
Yeah, and I think, and that's the problem is I don't even think it's anti-Trump. I think it's just like anti-everything.
But you
It's
know what I
like,
think it is? I think that it was like Trump was so like people are like, "Oh my god, he's blatantly racist. He's blatantly bigoted. He's blatantly like it broke people's brains. Like they went to now, okay, everyone, if you dare speak something crazy, you're canceled. If you dare, like you went so anti whatever that is. Maybe it wasn't Trump personally, but
yeah.
anti any sort of like everyone's safe and happy and optimistic. I don't know, but I worry that you're gonna go back to fucking like the Josh Howleys of the world.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to swing the other way, obviously, because people don't like defund the police. People don't like tax everybody, tax the
Yeah.
rich. People don't like all of these themes. And unfortunately, like, there was a lot of progress that could have been made and wasn't. So ultimately, like, it affects the same people at the end of the day, and the rest of us just move on with their life. And that's the
Yeah.
problem, is that, like, we're trying to play fair and we're trying to help our people, but you go too extremist and you go too one way or the other, majority of people get screwed by it. And I think whatever, like,
Well, look,
they're
Eric
never going
Adams is a good sign. You give us a couple of moderate Republicans in some key positions, couple of moderate Democrats. I mean, Eric Adams to me at least seems like hope that
yeah.
moderate and like I don't want to speak too soon because this guy could be a disaster, and here I am on record. But like moderate, sort of common sense Democrat or common sense Republican could win.
I mean, Eric Adams in a year could be the presidential fucking nominee.
Yeah.
All you have to do is drop crime in New York City, which is the biggest city in
Yep.
America, most important city probably in the world. And all
Yep.
of a sudden, you are now the next president of the United States.
Yeah.
It
I mean,
can
I
happen.
talked to one. It can happen, you said?
I think it can happen that fast.
Yeah. Especially from New York. You can go
Yeah.
from New York to, I mean, where did Barack Obama, you didn't even know what he had done before.
Yeah, he was a state senator.
Yeah, I mean, so this guy can put in 2 good years in New York and be up there. I talked to our friend who I'm guessing is a Democrat. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But he was legitimately like, he's a New Yorker and he was legitimately like excited. Like, hey, this guy won. So hopefully like things are going to be awesome. I don't know. It feels like people haven't been like optimistic about political changes in quite some time.
Yeah.
It's good to even see the optimism of like, this is a good sign.
Yeah. No, it is. I think it's a great sign.
Okay. Next up. I would say, like with the internet, with like especially even I see a lot of it on TikTok, big on Instagram, huge in the world of podcasting. I think we've been introduced to a lot of new, almost life coach type characters. A lot of people preaching the good word of how to have a better mindset, how to achieve your dreams. And one of those things that you hear commonly in that world is just positivity. And it seems good, right? Everyone should just be positive, no matter what happens. What's the positive outlook on it? Positive, positive, positive. It seems like we're starting to maybe see a little backlash, and there's a new term floating around called toxic positivity.
I saw this article in the Wall Street Journal and I was crying, laughing at obviously the headline. But it's basically saying that people
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a cohort of people on Earth who are always annoyingly positive. They're like, "You got this. You're gonna figure this out."
Yeah, it's like the opposite of a Karen. It's like whatever that is, like a Kyle.
Yeah, exactly, Kyle. And like, that's just not what happens in the real world. Doesn't work out. Like some things don't work out, and I think there's rightfully so. There's people that are now saying that this is unhealthy, that it's not good for you to have this belief that everything is going to work out, and that you actually have to deal with your challenges in your life, and sometimes confronting it is actually the better thing to do, because you're not always going to feel good. You're always, there's different parts of your life. You're going to have some positive things. You're going to have some negative things. And if it's a negative, then like it was like with my dad, like that was not a positive thing. And I dealt with it. Like it was a very, very hard time, but it was almost impossible for me to find positive things other than that. Like I got to spend so many years and time with him, but it was just something that, whatever I came to a conclusion with, but it wasn't positive. I couldn't walk away and say, "Oh, that was a positive experience." No, it sucked. And I think people have there are a lot of these people that you meet nowadays that are just like annoyingly positive. And I know plenty of people like this. I have friends like this, and like I'm sure they listen to the podcast and they're always optimistic and they're positive. And I'm like, that may work for you, but like I don't like to be delusional.
Yep. Plus, I just think like, I don't know. I think you covered it as far as what I'm thinking. Like, it's just annoying. Yeah, it's just not. I mean, I would say even the great Trevor Moawad, rest in peace. His whole thing was neutral thinking, because positive thinking doesn't actually get you through tough things, and negative thinking obviously doesn't help. Neutral is just okay, here is the problem. How am I going to deal with it?
Yep.
And positive thinking can actually, statistically cause you to not fix the problem, because you're just like you said, like, oh, it's going to work out. Everything's going to be fine. This is happening for a reason. And whatever. I think it's a bunch of, I think there was a huge rise in it with like podcasts and shit. And I think it's just, you can also, I think the problem is like, you can build a platform and you can write a book and you can gain followers on this like happiness or positivity, theory.
Mm-hmm.
And people buy into it. And it's just not exactly the whole story.
Yeah, because I agree with that. I think there's an era of people that are basically grew up on the internet and got educated on the internet. There's people on the internet that will breathe all of this positivity all the time, and it's like it's nauseating. Dude, bro, you lost today. You lost. You're a loser. Like
negative.
Yeah, like you had a big L. Move on with your life.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, guys, fucking chill out, okay?
You losers.
You positive losers. Okay, last but not least, and this is a perfect example, actually. I'm glad we just covered it, of when it's not necessarily positivity isn't exactly the right lane to choose, and that's the reason why I put it last. This tragedy at the Travis Scott performance at the Astroworld Festival in Houston. It happened on Friday night. 8 people died. Apparently hundreds of people were injured. And apparently what happened was it was so packed such poor like layout of, you know, whatever it was, how the crowd could sort of get out or move around. And Travis Scott is notoriously throws some of the most insane shows of probably anyone ever. In, you know, encouraging people to go pretty nuts, and people got legitimately, it looks like, crushed and suffocated, and people had heart attacks, and the youngest person to die was 14 years old.
Oof.
8 people died. There's some horrendous videos of this stuff online. And, you know, now, as you would imagine, there's lawsuits starting to come in. It looks like Travis Scott, Live Nation, and Drake, because Drake came out and performed. What do you think?
I mean, obviously, first, it's just extremely tragic because as a parent, I was thinking about it. Like, you know, my children at some point are going to want to go to concerts. And
Yeah.
they're going to want to go to whoever their generation's Travis Scott is. And the idea that you could drop off your child to a concert and them not come back is just insane to me. Completely insane.
Because
And
you
I
wouldn't even
think,
really think about that, right? It's like that's what the kid's so excited to do.
I
You
mean,
know, it's like dropping your kid off at
is their
Disneyland.
idol. This is
Yeah.
their idol.
And
He's
it's a
at
fun thing. Like, these kids probably
Yeah.
waited for this for months.
2 years probably. There's been one, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about it. Like, this is probably most of these 50,000 plus people attending first ever concert. And
Yeah. Is this a
I
product of people being locked up for 2 years?
I think it's a product of a poorly organized festival. That's what I
I think
really think.
that's what it comes down to.
I mean, I read a bunch of the concert goer stuff, and a lot of people, even there was like a EMT paramedic that was an attendee that said that a lot of the paramedics that were on site were kind of not properly trained. It seemed like security didn't have a handle on things. And, you know, people want to blame Travis Scott that he didn't hear the fans say stop and, oh, you shouldn't continue on. Look, he's notorious for, I mean, he's been convicted, I think, twice of like whatever
Inciting a riot.
unruly. Yeah, it's inciting riots basically at his concert. So it's no surprise that like his concerts are rowdy. But I think the challenge here is that when you put on an event, so Live Nation put the event on, which is obviously like a massive, the biggest in terms of live events in America.
Yeah.
So, you know, at the end of the day, you can blame Travis Scott all you want. They're going to end up being the bearer of the challenging part of this is it's their event and they staffed it. And if they didn't have a handle on how it went down, then they're ultimately going to be blamed for it. Travis Scott's going to get the blame publicly because who else can you blame? And I think it's tough. Like, I've been to many concerts in my life and I've been to many rowdy situations. When I see something like that, I obviously walk away.
Yeah.
That's my inclination. And
Yeah.
even when I go to any high profile event, like I'm always kind of nervous with crowds and mobs and whatever. Like I'm pretty cautious in that sense, but you know, these are young
kids. Know that when you're 22 and you're like Trav and you got a good seat, you know, not seat, you got a good space and you don't want, last thing you want to do is leave. You've been waiting 2 years for this and you just don't know how to spot, you know, or you're like, fuck it, Travis Scott shows are crazy and I'm ready to be crazy, but you just like didn't expect that level. Do you think he gets pulled from Coachella?
So he is one of the headliners. On texted me, thinks he's gonna be faced with a lot of cancellations, and thinks he will get pulled from Coachella because of the liability issue. So I'll tell you. I mean, obviously, I found it extremely sad and very difficult that this, you know, like how do you even handle a situation like this?
Yeah.
And I ran into someone at ComplexCon and I was like, we were talking about it, and I won't mention his name because he listens to the podcast and he's in our industry. He was like, "There's nothing more punk rock than what happened," and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Think about it." He's like, "People died at a Travis Scott concert," and I was like, "Whoa!" Like,
Yeah.
I did not see that angle or can even appreciate it,
Yeah.
but I could see how other people are going to look at that and be like, "Oh, yeah, he's a rock star. People will die at his concerts."
I
And
mean, I think, unfortunately, for sure, that's going to happen. And I think that there's probably kids that would want to go to a show even more.
yeah, I literally saw, so like I saw a clip of two concerts last night. I saw Little Yachty at the ComplexCon, and I saw everyone going crazy. And then I saw, I think Playboy Cardi, I think was in LA,
Yeah.
and I saw clips from his show, and I saw kids just going nuts, like same, like raging, which is what Travis is known for. I I think for young people, there's no deterrence at all. Like I think he goes to like God level.
I hate to say it, but I think you're right. I don't look, I don't know whether like, you know, I don't know whether festivals will even have him
Yeah,
because,
exactly. Liability.
because of that, and like, but yeah, I think that smaller shows and stuff, I think that's going to be the reaction. I mean, look, one of the things that I guess I got to be realistic, like young people. So I just want to say, I think that a factor in the whole thing was people, this is probably their first time out in 2 years. And I think like we talked about it 6 months ago, a year ago, that people were going to just go nuts and there was going to be fist fights and there was going to be like everything was just going to be through the roof at every live event. And I think there's a product of this because when you see the videos, once again, I don't want to sound old here because I'm sure this just happens and this is just young, wild people having fun. But like there was paramedics like trying to get in like a golf cart to some of the victims, and kids were like jumping up on top of the golf cart and dancing and crowd surfing off of it. And like it was just absolute disregard for any safety. And yeah, I think that I think you're right, but I wonder if he'll even be allowed to do big venues because of who would want to take on that liability?
Yeah. So, do you think Travis Scott's career is?
No, I don't. I
basically
think
over?
no, not at all. I think his audience loves him, even more, or his core, his people. I think.
So I agree. I think if Donald Trump incited a riot that killed people and tore down the capital of our country, no one's going to care what Travis Scott did.
Yeah, and I think the difference is Donald Trump literally said, "You better go down there and fight like hell, or else our democracy is at stake." Whereas Travis Scott just said, like, "Let's get wild, let's get wild." I mean, look, I don't think, like, here's a question: does Nike drop Travis Scott? I don't think so. I understand why people are mad at him, and I totally get it, actually, and it's really easy in this moment to be like, man, fuck him, whatever, if you're, if you take that side. But look, you think the guy honestly wanted anyone to die? Like, if he knew, if he would have truly registered, people are truly in danger, of course he would have stopped the show. But do you think like Nike drops him? Do you think, like, I just don't know that he did anything like on
If
purpose.
Nike drops him, Under Armour should scoop him up tomorrow.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
I don't
But
think
right, I
Nike
mean, like, I just think
some moral compass.
yeah, you don't think that the next Travis Scott, even if it's not a show, the next Travis Scott Nike release isn't going to be
Bigger than ever.
the biggest thing ever. I just think that no one will want to take on the liability of doing a festival or even a large venue with him.
Yeah, so that obviously presents a problem. And here's what I also think. This is a huge tragedy, and how he handles it, and the families, and all the people involved. Like, if he doesn't take care of it out of his own pocket, I think he'll be a piece of shit. Like,
that's a must. He cannot profit one single penny off of that entire festival.
and not forget profiting. I mean, obviously he's an extremely wealthy man. Like he needs to take care of the families and their losses. He needs to take care of all the people that got injured and their medical expenses. Like, I think if he can at least do that, his core fans can be like, be at peace that like, he did the right thing. I watched his video on Instagram story. He obviously looks and feels devastated. Here's a guy that like never shows his face, and
Yeah.
he knows that like, I think he knows the gravity of the situation and how devastating this is.
Yeah.
But like, think about it. Besides like a terrorist attack, I think at a concert or whatever. But like, I mean, 8 people dying at a concert is insane to me. Insane. Like when you think about
absolutely
DC or Coachella, like that shit doesn't happen.
And look, I don't, like you said, I think the biggest thing, because it's not like Travis Scott has any, unless I'm wrong here, has any notes or any look at the way that like the barricades and the crowd is sort of like mashed in there.
Yeah.
And man, just, I don't know, the security issue, it was just so poorly handled. When you see the videos of kids screaming for help, like at every break in between songs, they're just screaming, Travis, help, Travis, help. You can hear it in the Apple live streamed it, and you can hear in between the breaks people screaming help. And, whether obviously that didn't make it to him or whatever, but like someone
wild.
couldn't radio and be like, you're telling me that in all that crowd, the moment a security person or whatever does notice that this has gotten out of hand, they can't radio someone to say, hey, we need to hit the red button. We're too far here. And you just turn on the floodlights and the show's over.
Yeah.
Like you would hear these kids screaming for help and people like dying. And then like a new Travis Scott song comes on. And apparently that happened for like 40 minutes after, things got really serious. It's such a tragedy.
I mean, yeah, they're going to get flooded with lawsuits, Live Nation and all of them personally. So we'll see. It's sad. It's very tragic.
Yep. Well, I just wonder, my biggest question is, what does it do?
So Travis Scott has a Nike deal,
Mm-hmm.
a McDonald's deal.
Mm-hmm.
What else does he have? I mean, he's it. He's it. He's the biggest. Yeah. He's one of the biggest artists in America.
But here's my even bigger question is like, does it change festivals?
Yeah.
Like you'd have to think that it's not just people now see, oh my gosh, like people can be dying and like we can't even relay that message. It's just too much to handle. I have to believe, even if you're Live Nation or you're Golden Voice or you're the people that throw these festivals, you're just going to change your protocols and fundamentally kind of change.
So, I mean, I'll give you a quick. I just went on Spotify right now. The number one song on Spotify right now in America is Post Malone and The Weeknd. Number 2 is Escape Plan, Travis Scott. Number 6 song is Mafia, Travis Scott.
I mean, I just got to say, like, not to, hopefully this doesn't come off wrong, but like Escape Plan is a terrible name at the moment to be your number one song. And like all of the visuals and stuff are very, it says like, welcome to dystopia and will he survive? And like, because, of course, TikTok goes crazy with like this satanic ritual conspiracies, but yeah, not good timing for the names.
Yeah, it's wild.
All right, well, be careful out there. I do think people are still, we're not out of the clear of people just being a little extra fucking nuts and like having a little extra disregard for their fellow man and woman. Props to ComplexCon. Everything seemed super civil. There was no issues. Really well organized, really secure, all that stuff. But I don't know. I think things where a lot of people get together for a little bit seem a little sketchy.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. That's all we got. Any shout outs?
I don't think so. I don't have any.
Okay. Let's wrap it up. We will be back on Tuesday. Thank you for joining us.